to load and offload their cargoes. Therefore, they're able to predetermine a schedule for ships to arrive, and they'll happily pay the $35,000 reservation fee rather than have their ship sit and wait for more than 12 hours. Here ahead of us is the Bridge of the Americas, which we will be sailing under momentarily. This bridge was built in 1962 for a cost of $20 million. The Bridge of the Americas carries the Pan American Highway that runs from far northern Alaska to the southern tip of South America. The only place the Pan American Highway is not continuous is through the jungles of the Darien Peninsula, southeast of the Panama Canal. This nearly 1 mile long bridge is one of 3 bridges that span the Panama Canal, and this is the oldest bridge. The Isthmus of Panama itself is often called the Bridge of Americas as it reunites continents. The Bridge of the Americas eliminated the Thatcher Ferry, which was previously the only way to cross the canal here on the Pacific side of the isthmus. This bridge was originally named the Thatcher Ferry Bridge, but the name Bridge of the Americas was more popular, so the name was changed just 10 days after it was opened. However, the name was not officially changed until 1979. Canal Zone postage stamps were issued with the name Thatcher Ferry Bridge. These 4-cent stamps were used to send mail from the Canal Zone to the U.S. A 6th step in the printing process led some of the stamps to be missing the bridge, and so they are called the bridgeless bridge stamps that are worth thousands of dollars today. You can see this stamp and many other Canal Zone stamps in a virtual exhibit on the Smithsonian's National Postage Museum website.
Much better idea than going to get
No, I've got the no, I've got the camera set up recording now. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I'll probably start now and it'll be fair.
Okay, I'm gonna put back my idea.
See how it just turns and it's still going sideways?
We are now entering the area of Balboa. It is here that a large cargo terminal operates, as you can see on both sides of the ship. Now some ships, instead of transiting the canal, will offload their containers to be shipped across Panama by railroad.
Stay here. I'll watch everything.
Where the actual canal operations are in the hands of the Panamanian government, a Hong Kong-based company, Hutchison Balboa Limited, which reportedly has ties to the government of the People's Republic of China and its military operates support facilities on either side of the Panama Canal. The town of Balboa was the administrative center of the Canal Zone, a 10-mile wide swath through Panama, which the U.S. had the right to build a canal and govern the area. The Canal Zone ceased to exist on October 1st, 1979 as part of a treaty signed 2 years earlier. That same treaty would eventually transfer control of the Panama Canal to Panama at the end of 1999. Today, Balboa has an extensive harbor. They have dry docks, marine and railroad repair shops, as well as warehouses. Balboa was named after Spanish conquistador Vasco Núñez de Balboa, who is credited with discovering the Pacific Ocean when he saw it from the Darien Peninsula. Balboa is also the name of the currency here in Panama. It is pegged with the US dollar, so $1 equals 1 Balboa, and in fact both currencies are accepted anywhere in the country. Now also in this area are several facilities that were previously US military installations. On our port side, out of sight, is what was the Howard Air Force Base. It is now an industrial center. Along the channel is a private fueling depot where Rodman Navy Station was. If you see any airplanes approaching or leaving the commercial airport, that is where Albrook Airfield was, and it is now the commercial airport that serves Panama City for both domestic and international flights. We're a little further along in the channel. We'll be able to see the buildings that previously housed the U.S. Army's Fort Clayton. This was the headquarters of the Army's Southern Command. It's now used for several activities, perhaps the most major of which is the City of Knowledge, where universities from around the world have established satellite campuses. As I said, we are now sailing through Balboa a little bit earlier on. So off on our starboard side, the high-rise buildings of Panama City sitting over there. The first canal facility that we passed was the traffic control center, perched atop Clemenceau Island, and we sailed by a causeway that links the island with 2 other islands to the mainland. It was built as part of the original canal construction because there's a strong cross current in the area. So had that not been eliminated, it would have been a navigational problem for all of the ships arriving in the canal. On that causeway, you probably saw a very colorful building. That is the Bio Museo. It was designed by renowned architect Frank Gehry, and this is Gehry's first design for Latin America. The design was conceived in 1999, and the museum opened in 2014. The building was designed to tell the story of how Panama rose from the sea, uniting 2 continents, while separating a vast ocean in 2, and thereby changing the planet's biodiversity forever. And just behind that, you can see the lights from Panama City through the fog. It's the most urban area of the country. About 2/5 of Panama's population lives in Panama City and the surrounding areas, which is about 1.4 million people. Major industries in Panama City are financial services and operations related to canal traffic. Other industries include breweries, oil refineries, steel rolling mills, and factories that produce clothing and wood products. Panama City is the capital of Panama. Panama City was once a fishing village. The word Panama means mini fish in the indigenous language. Panama City became a Spanish city in 1519 and was a hub of transportation and commerce. Traders from South America were brought to Panama City, carried across the isthmus by pack animals, and put on boats on the Caribbean coast and shipped back to Spain.
Sir David. Sir David. Still there. Still
We're going to the left?
Yeah.
That is insane that we're gonna go into the behind here.
Yep. Only 4 feet wider than the ship.
Really? What is that? That's insane.
4 feet wider than the ship.
Maybe I'd rather be out. Thank goodness for yeah.
Really, you'll see the mules that will hook up to, is going to keep us centered. They're 3 sided lines, and they're not pulling us through, they're keeping us.
So from my understanding, you said that there are actual block pilots that come onto the ship.
Yep, there's a pilot on board right now, it's commanding. Did you say there's mules? They're locomotives, but they call them. You see them up here, I'll talk about them too. They're little silver trains, it's like a 1-car train.
And it will keep them. Yep, will keep us doing.
Yep. Yep, we'll fill the line to them.
And the block pilots, are they human beings?
Sure are.
Do They do that for all, like, big vessels?
Yep. Yeah, even the little vessels. Even here. Yeah, you can actually see just behind that little arrow on the left there, you see like some red lights.
Yeah.
Those are the mules.
Locks like in France, like on a riverboat. This is insane. Have you ever gone through the St. Lawrence Seaway with the locks up there?
I have been to the locks, but I've never
Is
gone.
it similar to this?
Oh, I was kidding.
I used to teach geography like in the 80s, and so it's just kind of up here to see.
Yeah.
Or we don't have those like this.
Yeah.
What about the Suez Canal?
I have not. Yeah, but there's no lock.
This is a Panama pretty darn good.
If you look ahead of us here into the Miraflores lock, you can of course see that arrow telling us we're going into the left-hand channel. In the right-hand channel, the right-hand set of locks, you can see a ship already in the second lock making its way out. Now, if you notice, it's going the same way we are. Also, that big ship that we could see in the new locks was also going the same way that we are. Now, here at Miraflores, just because there's two set of locks, doesn't mean that it's a two-way street, because we are actually all going the same way right now. We are all inbound, and that's because large ship traffic is limited to one way through the Galliard Cut, the Culebra Cut. So large ships that are scheduled for daylight transits, they use both locks here in the morning for inbound traffic and for inbound traffic on the opposite side as well at the Gatun lock. So they get us all in. Those ships will sit and wait in Gatun Lake, and then later in the day after we get through the cut, we will pass them. And at the end of the day, all of the locks become outbound locks, getting all of the ships out of the Panama Canal for their daylight transits. Now some more equipment is coming into view. You can see that lock gate closed into the lock that we are approaching here at Miraflores. Now just beyond that arrow that's on the center of the pier, you can see some little red dots and some little white lights as well. Those are the lights on top of the locomotives, or known as the mule. They are electric locomotives, and they're an important part of our transit through the locks. The cables from these locomotives are attached to ropes from the ship, and they are winch tight. These cables just help us keep the ship centered in the locks. That's why there are locomotives here. They don't pull us through the locks. We have engines that do that, so the ship will move under its own power. The locomotives are just there to keep us centered in the locks. You can see that lock channel ahead. We are going to fit right there in that lock channel. If we do it right, there's 2 feet of clearance on either side of the ship. If we do it wrong, there's 4 feet of clearance on one side and some paint damage on the other side.
Yeah. Really?
All day yesterday. Yep.
At 2. Okay.
I'll talk a little bit about finance.
Okay. Talk about what we might see. So that's like
So she said,
if you look on your left, there's water. And on the right, more water. Experts, yes, yes. We're doing great.
You guys are doing an incredible job.
oh, thank you. Thank you so much.
Very.
FNC.
At least this is washed away.
Already, you can walk around.
But you're still outside.
You got the picture.
Make references to this throughout your dialogue today.
Yes, it's a great one. I read most of it. I couldn't get through it all in one go. Yeah, when I was stranded on the Euroland at the beginning of the pandemic, that's what I was reading. Yeah. I know, but just in the lake, probably if I got 4 days. No, the 2 models at 12:40 are on the park. Your notes.
She natural.
Yeah, don't go from the Geographic River, which is like we have to get through the top.
But no, I was like, got you.
We are about to enter the Miraflores blocks. Using the left-hand channel, there are 2 channels, and you can see just to the side of this center here that extends 2 men in a little rowboat. They're not kayakers trying to transit the canal and sneak in the locks with us. They're actually part of the canal workers here, and they are part of our line handlers. So they're going to paddle out to the ship. They're going to get a line from the ship. They're going to paddle back to the shore, pass it to those line handlers that are standing above them there, and those line handlers will hook it up to the mules to connect it to the ship to keep us centered through the lock. So still use the rowboats here. They tried a variety of other ways. They said, you know what, the rowboats work better. Let's go back to the boats. So still, that is what is used in all 3 of the sets of blocks here through the Panama Canal. So keep an eye on these guys in the rowboat. You'll see them approach us.
Try to get them all. Okay. You're welcome.
Come on.
Like I said, these guys in the rowboats are going to attach us to the locomotives, and you can see the locomotives there plainly. I think we've got at least 5 out there right now. On the pier, you see some people standing on the pier, and then these little silver trains behind them, these little silver cars. Let's talk a little bit about those locomotives. Now again, like I said, they're not pulling us through the locks. The ship moves through the locks on its own power. Instead, these locomotives help us stay centered in the locks. These locomotives are commonly referred to as mules, and they ride on railroad rails. Between the rails is a raised slotted track, and on the far side of the rails is a slot in the concrete. Both of these are important to help the locomotive operate. The slot is access to electrical power for the locomotive. From the far side of the locomotive, each axle has a device that extends down into the slot where it makes contact with the electrical source. So think of this as like a third rail. You use a transportation system that gets its power from the third rail concept used in subways and other modes of transport around the world. Same concept here. So that raised slotted track fits with gears under the locomotives, and this allows them to operate the same way as a cog railway. Because as you can see, if you follow the track the locomotives are sitting on, follow that down, and you'll see that it's going to approach a hill. Here there's actually like 2 stair steps. You can see right before we enter the lock gate. Plus then there where the gate is closed, they have to go up a steep incline. So that cog railway concept helps the locomotives climb that hill. The original locomotives for the Panama Canal were built by General Electric. Much of the equipment here in the original canal was in fact built by General Electric. The 40 mules that were originally built cost $13,000 each. In 1965, a second generation of locomotives was built by Mitsubishi Corporation of Japan, and they cost $115,000 each. In the early 2000s, a third generation of locomotives was contracted, and these were more powerful and include comforts for the operators, such as an air-conditioned cab. These locomotives were also built by Mitsubishi. At the time, they cost between $1.2 million and $2.3 million. 26 locomotives in total were in that third order, so now there are over 100 locomotives here on the canal. As our ship maneuvers into the lock, once we are connected to these mules, the pilot will be in contact with the locomotive operators by radio. We'll give them instructions. They answer back by ringing their bells. All of the radio communications are recorded for use, just in case anything goes wrong, and if damage occurs to either the ship or the canal facilities. Now, these verbal radio communications are all one way. The pilot radios what he needs, and the locomotive responds by a series of bells and the lights that you can see there on top of the cab. So if you were out on deck 3 or on the bow on deck 5, you can easily hear those bells ringing. If you're anywhere else, just keep an eye on the lights on top. I see many of them. It looks like now they've got the yellow light on. See, they've got green, red, and yellow lights on the top of those locomotives, and that's how they're communicating with the pilot here on board. Now we're down on deck 5 or deck 3. You can probably see that rowboat coming out. You can see a group of 3 people standing on the pier, and they have some leading lines coming from them. So that's what will connect to the ship's ropes, and then they'll pull it over and connect to the ship's ropes and the steel cables from the locomotives.
Thì bỏ vô một bên rửa chút xíu.
The gate was shut behind us too.
Nói về
Oh.
Không, để nghe, để nghe. Để nghe. Không, ok. Tắt đi rồi mình thâu lại đi cái mới.
I'm wondering if they just press the scenic button, which is what I told them to do.
Is that a mule moving? A train? Yeah. Right, it's gray. On the track. See it? Yeah. It was just moving, so I guess the on a track.
Yep. Yep, and so it just comes back to that correct. Because that ship just left the second lock, so now they're done, so they're being disconnected and they're coming back.
So there's two locks that were
Miraflores 2, Pedro Miguel 1, and get 2 in the Pedro, could you press the button on the theater system for me? It should be the last one, the Pan Asian bar. Number 5. Okay, thank you. Thanks, Mary. I'll take a walk in with you.
Romeo.
So the one doesn't work, actually sends an email to the bridge address that lists like 7 groups. So the scenic cruise answers it shouldn't have 7. That's the one. Do you want me to read them to you?
Somebody's got her bag there.
Yeah, I don't know what to do.
Selected instead of the individual group, so you might have to shake your walk again just to make sure now everything is still where it's supposed to be. So I walked them through all the groups, it should be fine, but maybe just check outside. Perfect, thank you. Gonna have get on screen.
The new law is listening. So if she has a choice, she wants to do
Getting all connected here, I'm about to enter the first locks at Miraflores. This will be the first of 6 locks that we will travel through today. And after we enter the first lock chamber, the lock gates will close behind us. So the gates you see closed just ahead of us, those will remain closed until we are at the appropriate level. Those gates will close behind us after we get in there. Actually, the channel next to us, off to the right-hand side, you can see that those gates are closed right now, as the water level is being lowered back down to the level we are at now, which is sea level, so that they can begin its next transit when another ship gets in the opposite side over there. Now the gates here at Miraflores are the biggest lock gates in the canal, and this is because of the great tidal fluctuations that come from the Panama Bay. Each of these lock gates weighs over 700 tons. They are all 64 feet wide and 7 feet thick. Even though lock gates at the other locks are also 64 feet wide and 7 feet thick, as these ones here are taller. They swing open and closed like double doors and are the canal's most dramatic moving parts. So the gates are closed, personnel use them as a means of crossing from one side of the locks to the other. In fact, that's the only way you can get from one side of the locks to the other. You can see in that lock gate that it's closed. Just off of our starboard side up ahead of us, you see those yellow railings sticking up there. So as the gates close, those railings will pop up, and then any personnel can cross as they need to. So keep an eye throughout the day to see if you can spot any workers crossing from one side of the canal to the other. All of the lock gates are hollow and airtight, which means that they float in the water, so that greatly reduces the working load on their hinges. The lock gates were fabricated in the United States and assembled in place here in the canal. They are made of Pittsburgh steel, those Steelers, which is a risky thing for me to say on the day they play the Seahawks on a cruise from Seattle, but As the daughter of a Pennsylvania steelworker, it's an important fact to me, plus the National Transit Company's Pump and Machine Company in my tiny little hometown of Pennsylvania also made some equipment for the Panama Canal. Now here in Miraflores, each lock chamber, except for these lower locks, has a set of intermediate gates. The purpose of these is to conserve water by reducing the size of the chamber. So if a ship is not a big ship like ours, a Panamax size as it is called, if it's a smaller ship, there are intermediate gates that can be closed to create a smaller lock channel so that less water is used. You don't use the whole gate, using all of that water, you can use less water if you just got a small vessel.
So I keep telling Bob.
I use this one.
Consider it having football games. I don't remember. But then
It shouldn't be because it's just the same channel. As everything else. Did they normally do it? I don't think they never did it.
then we land with
No,
I'll,
right, so we can come in, then it'll close behind
yeah,
us.
I'm gonna wait until
Lift
we're out.
us up.
So you actually start filling it before we're in there.
Kind of, not really, I think that that's just overflow from something, because it actually fills from the bottom.
It seems higher up.
But we're going to get, we'll be raised up to the level of the water.
Thank you. My bag.
And then open.
Yeah, you can see the water.
Yeah, I think that that's just overflow.
Well, I had the guy who wrote it.
Did you see it? Bubbles up from the bottom.
yeah, but there's no people out there. Yeah, I'm assuming that's. I didn't see. On 5, it wasn't raining yet, and there were tons of people. We couldn't get near the rail to.
The yellowish beigeish building that you see to the right of the right-hand canal channel with the 3 levels of balconies on it, that's the Miraflores Locks Visitor Center. So you may see some people out there having a look at us as we go by. And then this red and white tower that stands between us and the visitor center, it's on top of that where the webcam is for the Miraflores Locks. So if you've got family and friends back home following along, that is where the camera is located. If you want to send them the link to it, it is multimedia.panama-canal.com. And then when you're in there, you can click on all of the different locks, including the new locks. So you can either revisit this when you get home, you can watch other ships transit through. So multimedia.panama-canal.com.
It's us coming in. There's a worker crossing.
Yes, good eye, good eye. Dash Canal. Panama Dash Yeah, but it took too long for the mic to turn on.
Do they have any deer here?
They do. The naturalist said he just saw one.
Yeah, I thought I saw one over here
Yep.
too, yeah.
Yep. He was looking for crocodiles, but saw a deer.
Yeah.
Hanging out with the crocodiles now?
I don't know, not yet, anyway.
No, there were 3 of them. Only 1 crocodile, so 2 of them are safe. You can't believe anything I said. You can't see the front of the boat. No.
That there.
I got some silver.
I never saw a deer in Panama.
Like one of those half circles.
In the corner.
Look the other way.
But you like to see more black behind the people. You sit here, you know the black people behind.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I got some. I use sausage. I got
Babies watching.
Look over the back rail.
They say it doesn't look like it's centered, but it's probably just from the angle.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, that's on the other side. Yeah, it's the largest. Yeah, that's the other
You see someone crossing that lock gate just ahead of us, someone transiting across the canal between those yellow railings. Another worker coming across the canal gate ahead of us over in the right-hand channel, close to the visitor center. Tower in between the 2 lock gates that are closed is the control center. We'll talk a little bit later on about what happens there in the control center.
That's like to find natural gas.
Yeah, take a look off of our port side. The grass is there through the trees. You see an LNG ship moving through the trees, it looks like. Those are the Goldilocks. You tell they are already above sea level. They are higher than us over there. That is an LNG tanker making its way through the expanded Panama Canal, leaving the Goldilocks. The liquefied natural gas ship will continue out that channel and then will actually meet back up with the same waterway. So the new expanded canal uses much of the same waterway that the old canal uses, it's only the locks that are different. There goes another worker across the gate.
I've seen them, they have massive. Okay.
1001.
All right.
Yeah, he was Moses, he was the president, he was something.
Oh yeah, he was the president.
President of NRA.
See my lady in the back of Orange. And she says, Wilson's
It's looking that way. So we're on this side. So let me see. I think she's looking the same way we are.
There's a joke in there somewhere.
Yeah. No, I think it was that one up there. So tell her we're in the far lane, so we'll be coming up in a few. Yeah. So we're traveling north, she's looking north. The camera is looking north, so we're still behind the She's looking north. Right. The camera's on this little building, So tell her no. The camera's on this building, so it's not going to be in the photo.
Okay. So you bring the dust
Yeah. Yeah.
So they drain the water out of there and then drive
Oh, your bedroom. Yeah, I need to go.
So the camera's on top of that building.
On top of that.
Yeah. So now I don't know if they change views, like they keep changing, like from north to south, north to south. I don't know. I don't know.
dishwater rigs
Panama Canal, a man, a plan, a canal, Panama.
Land, a canal, Panama.
Right.
Nice. Nice. I haven't heard that before.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
It's halfway out. I saw somebody
Take a look at that block game ahead of us. You notice that it doesn't go straight across the canal. It's actually in a V shape. And this helps to force the water on the opposite side of the gate where all of the water is up there in the lake. It forces the door to shut. The force of the water, the pressure of the water, is what keeps those block gates closed. It allows us to be raised up to sea level. Raised from sea level up to the height that we are going. Eventually, we will be 85 feet above sea level. But here at Miraflores, we've obviously got the two chambers here. We're almost into the first one. You can see the second one right ahead of us. We'll be raised up a total of 54 feet or 16 and a half meters. By the time we get up in that second chamber, we will be at 54 feet above sea level. No pumps are used here at the Panama Canal. The water does its work by force of gravity alone. Water is admitted or released through giant tunnels, culverts, that are 18 feet in diameter. These culverts run lengthwise within the center and the side walls of the locks. Branching off at right angles to these culverts are smaller culverts that run laterally under the floor of each lock chamber. There's 20 to each chamber. Each cross culvert has 5 openings for a total of 100 holes in each chamber for the water to enter or drain, depending on which valves are open or closed. This large number of holes distributes the water evenly over the full floor area of the lock. This controls the turbulence and makes it a smoother ride for us here on board.
Do you know if the block behind us also is
They are, they all are.
There are some people on the top balcony over there on the visitor center. Give them a wave. A wave to the webcam on top of the red and white tower. To your friends and family. This white building here on our right is the control tower for the Miraflores locks. From that control tower, they control all of the activity in both locks on both sides of the building. Each set of locks has its own control tower.
They both?
Yeah. You know,
Yep.
I can see through you.
Still safe to walk on. We almost touched the door.
I need a little space here, that's why it's roped off. Yep, on the other side of the rope here. Because I have to be able to move around so I can see where we're going. Yep, serve the other side of the rope, that's why it's here.
Is it that one?
Excuse me. That's it.
They still walking down. What time they go?
No, there'll be a bell when they can't walk on it. There'll be a bell and a light that they can't walk on that, because then it's going to be open.
I know I was surprised. I thought that you
That's just the same like the one in Seattle. You can walk on it and tell me when
taking the
you're
selfie.
Yeah.
You see those mules, those locomotives ahead of us now? The steel cables coming out of the mules and attached to ropes here on board on the mooring deck. The ship pulls them tight, winches them tight, and the mules help us stay centered in the locks. As we come into the lock gates behind us will close. So we're back there on deck 9 aft. Have one of those aft-facing statements. You can see those locks close, and again, these are the biggest lock gates in use anywhere in the canal. Once those gates are closed, as we are raised in each chamber, it will only take about 8 minutes. Most of the time in the locks is just taken up by the ship moving forward, as we have experienced so far, and the time necessary to close and open the lock gates and all of the other activities associated with moving through the canal. So the ship takes about 30 minutes in total to go from one chamber to the next, but once we're closed in the chamber and the water starts coming in, only about 8 minutes to get us up to that next level.
It's sticking better. Maybe. Yeah, well, for now. No, vaya de que no con
If I do, then I'm just gonna get the white part. No, you can still see the line. We're not quite there yet. We're already going up.
So higher, so we can.
Can you see the water right
Right
here?
there.
You can't see it. Okay.
I mean, we are slowly, but not see the water yet. When we see the water, we cannot see anything.
See the other water's taken out of the other line.
Yeah,
Well, the flag was like touching the yellow. Now it's getting higher and higher.
It's coming out on the map.
I don't know if they do switch because of traffic. The red rush.
Because the other side is Redlocks, so those are, okay, the roads are on the right side on this side, and the roads are on the right side.
Yeah, that's something I don't, they don't let me sail the ship, so I don't know a lot about that. They don't let me sail it anymore, not after the incident, so yeah, that's not something that I can speak
Valerie, you talked about how much it costs, and we had a discussion like that, how much the transit.
I'll talk about it later. I haven't talked about it yet, but the reservation fee is $35,000. Our full toll is $460.
That's what I heard, and my roommate heard 35.
35, just the reservation.
Just the
To get a daylight
reservation.
transit.
It's not all year for Holland Airlines, it's per ship.
Per ship, per transit. Every time you make a reservation,
Yeah, and we couldn't hear you on the balcony anyway. I mean, we knew you were talking, but
Yeah.
much better up here. Thank you.
Yeah.
Part of the day.
Yes.
Right, we're higher than the right one. You still see we're going up higher than the right. We're still 87. Pretty wet out there. And your windshield wipers. No, the ship. They're starting to open.
Oh, yes.
Stand there and take a photo. Get better off.
Thank you, that's perfect. You're in a lot.
I have to zoom in.
Because you knew what you
It's all open.
Oh, you can see down there now?
Yeah. Polly.
All right, the lock gates ahead of us are opening.
Okay.
See that water level come down in the lock gate ahead of us. Our ship was raised up. Now the water is at the same level. So the gates ahead of us just opened. We will move into the second lock chamber. And the friends and family watching at home should be able to see us in the second chamber as we slide in past the control tower.
Mike's at the band. They're putting the t-shirts out. You think? We're so well. Yeah. I think it's more.
Now entering the second of the two locks here at Miraflores in full Panama Canal transit, like what we're doing today, requires 6 locks. We will have 2 here at Miraflores, then 1 up ahead of us at Pedro, Miguel. Then we transit the majority of the length of the canal until we get to the 2 locks on the opposite end of Between Lake on the entry side. And there at the 2 will be lowered back down to sea level. The difference between the main portion of the Panama Canal waterway and sea level is 85 feet. Much of the day will be spent at 85 feet above sea level. A rare opportunity to be above sea level when you are on a cruise, when we are in the Panama Canal.
Oh yeah, fine. That's the only skinny part of my leg.
As we move into this second lock, let's talk a little bit about the old canal or the original canal and the new canal or what is called the Expanded Canal. Well, first of all, as I said earlier, the majority of the trip that ships use, they use the same waterway for most of the trip, regardless of which set of locks they are using. It's only the locks that are different in between the 2 canals. In 2006, Panamanians voted to give their canal a $6 billion makeover, dredging its channels and widening the famous Culebra Cut across the Continental Divide. The work began in 2007 and it included new and larger locks. This expanded canal was opened on June 26, 2016. The original locks, the ones that we are in right now, are also called Panamax Blocks. They are 965 feet or 294 meters long. They are 110 feet or 33.5 meters wide and are 42 feet or nearly 13 meters deep. Now, Nieuw Amsterdam is 936 feet long, 106 feet wide and has a draft of 26 feet, meaning she's only 29 feet shorter, 4 feet skinnier, and has only 16 feet under the keel while we are here in the locks. She is what is known as a Panamax ship, built specifically with the Panama Canal in mind. The widest ships ever to pass through these old locks were 4 U.S. Navy battleships. They were more than 108 feet in width, meaning they had less than a foot of clearance on either side of the ship. Their transits had to be done under special operating procedures. Now the new locks, which we saw the entrance of earlier and saw a ship passing through, are called Nieuw Panamax. They are 1,400 feet or 427 meters long, 108 feet or 55 meters wide, 60 feet or 18 meters deep, so they can obviously accommodate much larger ships. Container ships represent more than half of the traffic through the expanded canal, followed by liquefied petroleum gas or LPG carriers and liquefied natural gas or LNG carriers. Bulk carriers, tankers, car carriers, and passenger vessels have also transited the Nieuw Panamax Blocks. LNG ships, like what we saw earlier, began using the waterway since the expanded canal opened. Since then, this segment has experienced steady growth, and more than 90% of the world's LNG fleet can now transit the Panama Canal, which opened doors to a new market and has allowed LNG producers in the United States to send natural gas to Asia at competitive prices. LPG vessel traffic has grown exponentially since the expanded canal opened and has become the second largest segment of traffic through the Nieuw Panamax Blocks. Now, instead of the 3 set of blocks, there are only 2 sets of Nieuw Panamax Blocks. Each of those sets has 3 locks, so still 6 locks used for a full transit. There are 3 locks of the Culverts locks, which are located just beside us. We just passed them here near Miraflores. And the Agua Clara locks will be over near the Gatun locks that we will pass through later today. The expanded canal was designed with the environment in mind. It has contributed to the reduction of CO2 as it offers a shorter route and greater cargo capacities to its customers. The new locks also have water-saving basins that we saw earlier, and these allow 60% of the water used in each lock to be reused on the next ship passage. The gates of those new locks are also rolling gates instead of swinging gates, and they are more efficient and allow for better maintenance. So we're coming in now to the second lock here at Miraflores.
Linda said she's coming back to the She's coming down to the ship. Linda. He said, how awesome, can't wait to see pictures of we come back. We'll make a start.
Let's see if this is going to view for a little bit. It's going to be
Em mà không lấy thâu hoài. Thâu hoài.
Không có thấy được cái lúc mà nó mở cửa.
Thấy rồi.
Thấy nó mở. Thấy của bán ra luôn.
There we go.
We're moving up.
Yes.
Are you from the States? Were you in the military?
Doesn't have the first law.
Just an expert. Oh, that's awesome.
What part of Boston?
No, we're still moving
Yeah,
forward.
we still
We're not.
forward?
We're not. We're moving forward. You can see they're not moving.
Where? It's a movie? Still?
Oh, no, it's
No,
not.
oh no, movie.
It's so bad in the evening.
Yeah.
Why? Oh, this is a bridge or what? Oh, this is a bridge, the yellow one.
So that's another. So this one open.
So the yellow one is not another block or just a bridge?
We're almost into the second lock here at Miraflores. We will be raised up some more. By the time we exit this lock, we will be 54 feet above sea level. Sail out into Miraflores Lake.
35 years Chattahoochee River. When they shut those gates,
No, I can say.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Up ahead of us, you can see ships in the Pedro Miguel locks where we will be headed next. If you look off to the left, you can see a couple of ships sailing at a higher level than we are at. That is the Expanded Canal. After we get through the Pedro Miguel locks, those two waterways will connect. The new Expanded Canal with the original Panama Canal will reconnect, and you can see a line going across the horizon there in the distance, and that is the Centennial Bridge that we will sail right under.
really made them more. It's so crazy. We raised the last century. Anyway,
I don't remember.
Do you?
I thought like we got 3 rounds. Why at that time I feel so slowly. I feel like we take forever to venture. Remember? Oh, also at that time we already wait long time before beginning.
Let's hope so.
Still not racing.
A man-made. Just a man-made dam, essentially, all the way down there to raise the Miraflores. Yep, exactly. Yeah, it's a bit, I was finding it a bit unnerving in this section. It is. Walk right down here. Yeah, the second thing is, how do they maintain the level of the water? Obviously, this is Lake Jackson. It's right here. No, this is Miraflores. Miraflores. Yeah, because we still have one more lock to go through, then through the cut, then in. Okay, so what regulates the water? I think it's just they have drainage and then also they drainage out into the ocean just to make sure it's generating much water. Yeah, if they can't send any water into the lake, they can. Yeah. I'll talk a little bit about water.
second gate, the one that's
Yeah, so I was trying to determine, Mark and I were talking about it, if it actually is a gate or if it is just a bridge. I think it's a safety gate. I think it's a second gate. To ram one gate. Here, 1 year,
Because I thought it was almost 3 recycle tanks. This is the 2. Get us across this little lake and then back again.
maybe like an inch, half inch.
I don't know that. Maybe it's part of what that
Oh, thank you. It's still raining. Yeah, I thought look at the window.
As I mentioned earlier, the lock gates themselves are sort of a dam. They are above sea level, so they had to take some precautions to protect them from damage that could allow lake water to escape and flow out to sea. So one measure was to have double gates ahead of the vessel, an operating gate and a guard gate that points or damage to a gate could join the two levels. That is the upper and lower ends of the upper lock in each flight, and at both ends of the Pedro Miguel lock, the one ahead of us, it's only a single step lock. So before the double gate system was used, there were iron chains that were installed across lock chambers between the walls to protect these guard gates. So only after a ship was in proper position and under towing locomotive control was the chain lowered. The idea was if a ship was coming in too fast, was out of control, and struck the chain, an automatic release would let the chain out slowly until the ship was brought to a stop, and therefore it would eliminate the possible damage. But the expense of the upkeep of these chains and the extreme unlikelihood that they would be used caused the chains to start being removed back in the 1970s, and they are no longer in use today. They just rely on the double gate system to protect the structure of the Panama Canal. On the left-hand side, over there in the new waterway, the expanded waterway, you're seeing the hillsides cut in that stair-step method to prevent the landslides, which are obviously a big problem when the Panama Canal was being built, not just the expanded canal, but even the original canal, since they do cut through the mountains of the Continental Divide. Landslides were a big issue, so they're cut in the stair-step manner to try to eliminate that possibility. You can see some tugboats maneuvering up ahead of us there in Miraflores Lake. Tugboats are always on hand here in the Panama Canal that help in case of an emergency or if there's ever a malfunction. These tugs are an example of the expensive equipment that is necessary to safely operate the Panama Canal. They have a couple of types of tugs operating on the canal. Because of the expansion project, they had to get new tugs ordered, and they started adding them in 2013, and they have added 14 new tugs at a cost between $5 and $7 million per tugboat.
Still raining. She's got the red
What happened? How much?
And the driving gates are open. We are now 54 feet or 16 and a half meters above sea level. Sail out into Miraflores Lake and into the Pedro Miguel lock that is ahead of us.
I don't like that. Yeah, if you want one. So. So I got one extra large and a last time.
Yeah. Oh, no, I have one other thing I have to do. Yeah. The two water levels are open.
We're just starting to cut out the way of just
Yeah, we just open a bunch of
Yes, I only know it.
Hers is refreshing.
Yeah, it's only breaks down. I gotta get them out of the way because they
Hey, thanks for the website.
Yeah, you bet.
Our family's watching from China.
Nice, nice. Yeah, my friends in the Philippines are watching and just showed their kids.
As we exit the second lock here at Miraflores, we'll get disconnected from the mules, those electric locomotives, before making our way up to the next lock. If you look off our port side, you'll see that big MSC cargo ship that we saw earlier in the locks, the new expanded Panama Canal. That ship is already 85 feet above sea level, and after we get through our next lock, the lock of Pedro Miguel, we will join up with their waterway to continue our journey. So that ship has already gone through the Piccoli locks, through the 3 locks there at Piccoli, and have reached the height that they need to be at for their full transit. So we'll meet back up with them soon. We'll travel the same path all the way through Cocoon Lake. Then at Cocoon Lake, they will branch off and use the Agua Clara locks, the new Panamax blocks on the Atlantic side, as we head through the Cocoon locks, the original locks.
Now, is it my imagination or is this lock faster? Because we've already seen the LNG go by, plus 2 other ships, and it's like, these guys seem to be moving a lot faster.
Yeah, it could be faster. That I don't know for sure.
Yeah.
It would make sense that it would be. It was built 100 years later, so probably some new technology to make it go, but also needs a lot more water because it's a much bigger ship. So not really certain how that goes.
Yeah, because when we kind of started, we had that LNG that was beside us.
Yeah.
And that one's gone
Well,
now.
their locks start before the Miraflores locks.
Right.
So they've been out of their locks for longer, so they're just sailing now. They are a bit staggered.
Just a few drips.
Another one.
yeah. So there's only 2 locks on the mules.
Raise it up another 50, whatever.
Yeah. What they've done with their is the water beside it.
Yeah, because he's just,
The water upstream. And then this one. So they're using the same water like both of them. This one, they tend to use, I think,
I'm gonna go down with my husband, like this sheet match.
There's not for everything.
Well, I could put your bag on this one.
Oh, thank you. Oh, yeah. Try to do stuff like that.
I know, try to get up.
Mom, I'm gonna probably go on the hot tub in the sauna.
What's so funny about
You see a bunch of juggers and shit going on. You ever see the canal? So weird. Yeah, that's the Everlane up there. Is this not going anywhere?
Also large size for
As we leave one set of blocks and head to the next, let's talk a little bit about how the Panama Canal operates. The Panama Canal is an all-electric canal, and this was quite the innovation in the first decade of the 20th century. Block operations required some 1,500 electric motors, as all of the controls were electrical. The General Electric Company produced about half of the electrical equipment needed during the construction, and virtually all of the permanent motors, relays, switches, wiring, and generating equipment. They also built the original lock-towing locomotives that we talked about before, those silver mules. The original ones were built by GE. GE also built all of the lighting for the Panama Canal. The electric locomotive system was designed to provide complete control over the movement of vessels transiting the locks. As we talked about, these locomotives work on tracks built atop of the lock walls. They operate at a speed of about 2 miles an hour. An important design factor was that they have to travel the 45-degree incline between the lock chambers. Take a look whenever we are moving through the locks. You can see that track going uphill and downhill with the locomotives running on them. The original locomotives were built in Schenectady, New York, and cost $13,000 per locomotive. Now, all of the lock operation is accomplished from a control house built on the center wall of the lock chamber. There's that white house that we passed before, with the red roof and the arch on it on the center wall. If you look ahead at Pedro, Miguel, you can actually see it there between the two sides of the lock. The white building has the arch walkway underneath, has the red roof on it. Here from an unobstructed view, the operator can see the entire lock flight. It has a cleverly designed control board so a single person can run every operation in the passage of a ship. Everything except the job of keeping the ship centered in the locks, which is what the locomotives do. Each control house has a control board that is a waist-high working representation of the locks in miniature. Everything that happens in the locks happens on the control board at precisely the same time. The switches to work the lock gates and other system mechanisms are located beside the representation of that device on the board. To lift a huge ocean-going ship like ours in a lock chamber, the operator only has to turn a small chrome handle. Another ingenious part of the system are the elaborate racks of interlocking bars that are installed out of sight below the control board to make the switches mechanically interlock. Each handle must be turned in proper sequence or it will not turn at all. So this eliminates the possibility of doing anything out of order or forgetting a step. Only in an electrically run system could the locks have been controlled from a central point. An individual motor in the system can be located as much as half a mile away from the control board. The same system has been in use virtually unchanged since the beginning, and it still works perfectly. Each transit requires the use of an average of 52 million gallons of fresh water, of which 22 million gallons are released into the sea. Water comes from 2 reservoirs that also provide drinking water for Panama's population. The Panama Canal Authority stores as much water as possible during the rainy season. As we mentioned earlier, water-saving basins were built for the new locks that allow for 60% of the water used in each lock to be reused on the next ship passage. During the expansion process, the capacity of Butune Lake was increased by raising the reservoir level by more than 3 feet. And another dam on the upper Chavez River was modified to also increase storage. But rainfall here in Panama continues to decline, in some years by as much as 30%, which is attributed to climate change. So there are ongoing technical studies for the construction of 3 new reservoirs. If built, they will be located at La Villa, Payano, and the India rivers under the 2015 to 2050 Water Security Plan. They would also be used for irrigation and to boost tourism. The water is a key factor in the whole canal enterprise, and it always has been. Water is what lifts the ships 85 feet above sea level to the surface of Butune Lake, floats them across the continental divide, and then lowers them again to sea level at the opposite ocean. Water also serves to generate electrical power for the canal to run the electric motors that open and close the gates, and the valves and the electric locomotives. Now, as I said before, no pumps are used in the Panama Canal. The water does its work by force of gravity alone. That water is admitted or released through giant tunnels called culverts that are 18 feet in diameter. These culverts run lengthwise within the center and side walls of the locks. Branching off at right angles to these culverts are smaller culverts that run laterally under the floor of each lock chamber. There are 20 of those in each chamber, and each cross culvert has 5 openings, so there are 100 holes in each chamber for the water to either enter or drain, depending on which valves are open or closed. This large number of holes distributes the water evenly across the full floor of the lock, and that controls the turbulence and makes it a smoother ride for ships in the lock. To fill a lock, the main valves at the lower end of the chamber are closed, while those at the upper end are open. The water pours from the lake through large culverts to the cross culverts and up through the holes in the chamber floor. To release water from the lock, the valves at the upper end are closed, while those at the lower end are open, allowing gravity to do all of the work without the use of pumps. We've got a beautiful view up ahead of us of the new waterway on the port side, the Pedro Miguel lock straight ahead, and the Centennial Bridge in the distance. And just beyond the bridge lies the cut, Calabria Cut or Guyard Cut.
How new is this Centennial Bridge?
It was built in 2003, opened in 2004.
Pedro like you walk.
Look like that. You have the cup? Make sure. Right cup.
唔係喎，你錯咗呢個 lock 先至係先好嘅喎，你過咗呢個 lock 先好嗰個橋，大家會而家買分開喎，一出咗呢個 lock 就大家會買一齊，即係跟住個橋approach 啊，我哋係。
Well, not the gold. She was talking earlier, and you could see the hillside the way it was cut. Looks like somebody's house on top of that.
That'd be quite a view, wouldn't it?
I know. Everything you already showed me. You already showed me. When I was a big man, after all, where is she? Oh, yeah.
It's drying.
No, it doesn't.
There's only one design, and like blue, and there's gray. Just like and they say it won't shrink, so you can size it because they
No.
Do you know the reason for the different levels?
Just to prevent that.
Remind me of rice patties.
Yeah.
We are nearly on schedule here. It's now 8:25, the time that we were expected to reach the Pedro Miguel locks, which are those locks that are just ahead of us there.
You did?
I mentioned this a little bit earlier, but just in case anyone missed the notice that all the ships, we can see at least 3 ships there ahead of us, they're all headed the same direction that we are. That's because it is the morning, and in the morning, all of the canals all of the locks are for inbound traffic. So both the locks here on the Pacific side where we are, as well as the 2 locks and Agua Clara locks over on the Atlantic side, they're all only accepting inbound traffic right now. And that is because transit through the Culebra Cut on the opposite side of that bridge ahead of us, that's all one-way traffic. When you have large vessels like this, it's wide enough to use smaller vessels that they can pass each other. But if you have big vessels like ours, and especially those container ships you see off on our port side, it's only one-way traffic. So all of the ships have to get through the cut, and then to the ships on the other side that entered from the Atlantic, and then they can come through the cut over here to these locks. So all the traffic we will see this morning is headed the same way. After we get through the cut, we'll start passing ships going the other way. Now, since it is after 8 o'clock, I did want to mention that if you're looking for a Panama Canal souvenir, we've got some Panama Canal t-shirts out on Lido poolside. We have the deck sale happening right now. So if you were hoping to pick up a momentum of our transit today, stop by there. Lido poolside, deck 9.
Wow. Too much.
Yeah.
One for yourself.
I'll decide which one I want.
I think the ones from up there were
have another Sunday for a Rudolph or just tomorrow?
Yes.
Yes?
Tomorrow's a sea day.
Is it another day?
Yeah.
Okay. Tired.
Many in a row.
Well, I'll give him the good one. Probably. And then what will let you You see some activity taking place on the center wall here between the two locks, Pedro and Miguel. Got our friends hopping into the rowboat. Two of our friends are going to paddle out to us and connect the ship's lines to the lines that attach to the locomotives. You can see 4 locomotives lined up the pier. We will attach to those, so those will help keep us centered in the lock. Also notice that big arrow, the big green and orange arrow pointing to the left-hand channel, so that's why we are in this channel. If it's pointing the other way, we would move over to the right-hand channel. So the gentlemen in the rowboat right now are picking up the lines. Paddles to the ship and pass them to their colleagues that came on board earlier this morning to help the ship get connected.
Regular environmental.
Over that.
So what time I told you I started out the door without a mask. I saw somebody else with a mask
Valerie, you're doing a good job.
Oh, thank you. So hot. Want to go?
Thank you. No. What do you have in your setup? It's fantastic.
No, I have a guest chair. It's Mark's chair.
Oh, so you try to get you on the ditch ready?
He did try to get me to wear the hat. I know, I'll probably wear the hat when I go outside.
Ah.
I don't have really a adventure, you know. It's adventure? Often I
It's gonna be really good.
Yeah, really scrape the wall a little bit.
Is it? I was supposed to.
They just started project.
Dick, should I go down to 7 and see what it looks like outside? And come back and let you know? Might be a lot more.
Dry spots.
Yeah, it wasn't this way, and then when the real hard rain hit, it cleared everything off.
trying to figure out what I want to do. Don't really want to rather have gold if the cab magnet to put magnets and that might some other times. If not for the class one. The only thing is Morning. Hi there, good morning. You're doing a great job. Oh, thank you. That was Right. And that's why I want yellow.
That is clear.
But I'm once in a while, I don't think that's the case any longer.
As we enter the one lock here at Pedro, Miguel, the process will be the same as what we just experienced in the Miraflores locks. We have a look just off our starboard side, right ahead of us. There is the control tower, that white building with the red roof. So one operator can control all of the movements of the ship as far as it being raised and lowered in these locks. So the ship is hooking up to the locomotives, looks like we'll have 4 on each side. And again, those locomotives just keep us centered here in the lock. The ship moves through under its own power. It's not being towed by the locomotives or a tugboat or being pushed by a tugboat. We're moving through under our own power. We're going to go right ahead to that lock gate that is closed in front of us. And right now, just off the bow on either side are the lock gates that will close behind us. Once we are in there and the doors are closed, we will start raising up. We will be raised an additional 31 feet or 9.5 meters here at Pedro Miguel. And then we will be at 85 feet above sea level, or 26 meters, and we will stay at that level until we reach the 2 locks on the opposite side of the canal and start to be lowered back down. Have a look at the track that the locomotives run on. See just off either side of the bow right now, that steep incline that the locomotives have to go up. That's why they use the called railway type system. You can see a slotted track that they run on. So you can see the locomotives climbing the hills right now. A great spot to see this up close and personal is on deck 3, either side of the ship, where those locomotives are just a few feet away from you when we're on deck 3.
Yeah. Airbnb. So if you're operating an Airbnb, they want to just triple your times. Colorado is just crazy. Denver is crazy. That Denver strip, you know, Boulder. There's crazy.
I've done him so many times, I've been inside of it. I haven't actually ever stopped working.
There's no way I would pay taxes for the money from stocks or something into income. There's no way.
That's wonderful. And what decision have you?
That was crazy.
Okay.
So I spent a good time explaining that to him, and I told him I would send him a handbook But he was very interested in, of course, I think he's leading the congregation. I asked him if I could help him, and he said, fire service. So he did yesterday. And so he's putting something there.
Oh, that's good. So
Very, very nice man. Very
yes,
nice.
he is. And so and he's been having some separate Bible study classes.
Yes, he has.
I've been giving him
He
some
has
room.
a degree in biblical studies from the Dutch. Yeah, so he's a new member of the Dutch Reformed Church. But there aren't that many.
Yeah, oh yeah. Is he looking at wanting to start
Perhaps. He's very interested. And I told him, this can happen. Yes. They've been working on that for years. Endorsement of the company. But he's interested in it, as I say, he's very service yesterday. Stayed afterwards, we discussed it.
That's interesting.
It was very pleasant.
Oh, that's good. Thank you, Father, because I am going to meet with him. He wanted to check, obviously about standards and, well, I mean, one interdenomination. So, I mean, I've got to put some people in my school. And he can go from there if he wants to.
But it's very hard various other Christian organizations because they really don't get a sense of office like. But they can. Yeah. That's why I'm going to say.
I just think that I mean, that's just out of personal experience, so I think it's as we had mentioned today, I have friends that were not and so I think possibly the extension then traditionally interdenominational. Go next week? No. Okay. Everything. Something. I mean,
oh yeah.
They go. I mean, I just know that from my own experience being in the school of conflict. But times have changed and things change and he can work with our short side team to see.
Well, he's a very knowledgeable, he's very crazy ideas.
No, and he's true to us a lot as well. So he does understand our ship and
Very pleasant.
I'm so glad that you met me. Thank you so much. I've actually dialed to give you a call later as well. I thought I'm not going to call you during the day because you're enjoying the day. So this saves me a call.
I don't look like I usually look either.
Thank you so much. It's so nice that you sort of reached out to him and helped him. And I think he's gone away with all well.
Well, I hope so. And he asked me last night that don't forget to send me. So I will.
You would. I mean, you would.
And I have his email address, so I'll definitely send it. But I can't do it until I get there.
Oh, that's amazing. I'm going to touch base with him tomorrow.
Good.
And him and I will have a little chat as well.
I found him to be very pleasant and collaborative.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, and he had 25 at his Bible study though.
Oh, that's wonderful.
So,
that's wonderful.
I mean, he's come on with a group of students, but he seems to have a bit of a following.
Well, good. Well, he seems to be a very responsible person.
And he's bringing some good words.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you, Father. Have an awesome day today.
Thanks for your help.
No worries at all.
Also is Panama on the Atlantic because I've seen some cruises here from that side. Can go into it's another down
into the Panama Canal. And so then the next after. Gone in the river before you must have been out. Well, that could be. That's when which I wasn't very happy about, but it turned out to be a really good thing. Picture of Olivia sitting. Sounds awful.
Other channels.
Then the lake. And then by the time we got to the airport, we were coming to go home.
Yeah. First one is in the college.
The other day, look, but and he had to go to festival.
Yeah.
So you have to do all of this rigmarole. And then we get to leave. And they said, well, the door's closed. Well, we did that. Was that you and me? Yeah. Oh, I thought it was Olivia. Okay, yeah, it was awful. No. They did get us on 2 or 3 hours later. I was going to out to I don't run with me. I don't either. The reflection is not good.
You see the lock gates here in front of us, we'll reach the lock gates here in Pedro, Miguel. You can see the hydraulic ram coming out on either side. That is how the lock gates are operating now, but this was not the original system. Originally, it was just used with a system of gears. And to turn the gear, the power was supplied by only a 40 horsepower electric motor. It worked the way that a train would work. To drive a train, the big wheel would spin, there was a bar connected to it, open and close it, to make it into kind of a horizontal version of a train. And actually, when we reach the locks at the tuners, you'll see some of the system in place. It's no longer used today. We will be able to see it, see the gears that had been used to open and close the locks. They'll come in here, they'll close those gates behind us.
It's not here right now.
This chamber will fill up with water and we will sail out at 85 feet above sea level. Once those gates close, it will only be about 8 minutes for the chamber to fill. As the lock gates close, remember Nieuw Amsterdam has less than 30 feet of clearance for the length of the ship and less than 4 feet of clearance for the width of the ship. Oh, thank you. Thanks so much. Welcome. It's a fascinating place.
Yes, it is.
Seemed like it was Can you see up there?
So our draft is 27 feet, 26 feet? 26 feet. And so there's only 16 feet under the canal when we first come in.
So that's because we're not as heavy as these other ones.
What is so we're not as, what is so?
Does it change with weight?
Not as drastically, not because we would never take on much more weight than we have right now. Yeah, that's true. Depending on the beginning of the cruise versus the end of the cruise.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yes, you can see it right here.
It's a fear.
Yes.
You want her here to see that?
No, I'm fine. I don't have any here either.
Want me to go there?
Yeah, just the mechanism to open and close it. Okay. Everything is already done, but.
I woke up just as How long, how long does it take for the gates to fill back up water?
8 minutes.
8 minutes. Oh, it's timed that precise.
Yeah, about 8 minutes. As soon as they close, it only takes 8 minutes to fill up. Most of the time is just spent getting the ship into position. Once we're locked in here, it fills right up and up we go.
The next, what lake are we going to go up that?
So we will then go into the cut.
The cut, oh, it's actually the cut, okay.
The cut is next, then into Gatun Lake. After.
So there's no more locks to get into Gatun Lake?
No, just the 3 locks on the opposite side to get into the
Yeah, the partial transit from Fort Lauderdale is Gatun. Is Gatun Lake where you're trying to run at?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, so you go in the 3 locks at Gatun, actually stop there and drop tours off. They tender a tour so you can do the Panama Railway and come across and then come back, and then the ship goes to Cologne, docks at Cologne, and you pick the tours back up.
No, you can't do it. If we just use the transit, you do have a reflection.
Just not because of COVID.
Okay. I think my husband would love to see research in the history buff and all this modern.
Yeah. I actually think though, the last full transit I did, we didn't do any tours because we didn't have a port on either side. So I'm sure that it is possible to do it. Especially people have done it before. Stop in Panama City, stop in Cologne, and come back up.
Too bad it's a rainy day.
Yeah, it stopped raining now.
Hopefully, well, it said in the weather forecast there's a chance of some thunderstorms today.
It's very Panamanian. I've never been here and had it not rain.
Oh, haven't?
Yeah, always in the 90s and always rain. Today's actually the coolest day I've ever been here.
Yeah, because I was like, everyone was saying, oh, this is my first time to say, oh, you gotta make sure you have like clothes, you're gonna be sweating, and I'm like, except for getting soaking wet and sick.
Yep, it's always very humid and then it starts raining.
Can you imagine working in this when they were building it? Oh.
Yeah.
Can I block your view for a little bit? Hello, how are you? Meet on 80. Sorry. Yeah, so
So if you go all the way forward, if you go all the way forward, and then use the forward elevators and come down to deck A. Yeah, and then I'll look at you and I'll take you to the I'll look this way now and
Rail. Apparently, based on the other lot, I don't know that it's necessarily still on. Yeah, we're almost even with what's on the other side.
It's like a glare you can't really see.
That's got to be some pressure on the gates. Yeah, that's actually why they're designed that way. Not how they can get, but they're pushing against. I never.
Hold it closed.
Yeah.
And then once we have the same amount of water.
Yeah. That doesn't matter. Yeah.
How tall are these gates?
Oh, these gates. Find out for you. Not as tall as the ones at Miraflores. That's what I do. They are just over 31 feet. That's how much we're raised. Plus what's under the ship. Look it up. The ones at Miraflores. They vary in height from 74. The shortest ones are 47 feet. It's less. Opening. There it goes. Welcome to 85 feet above sea level. The gates are opening. We will leave the last of the 3 locks here on the Pacific side of the Panama Canal. Make our way to the Atlantic Ocean. After we leave the lock, we'll pause here in the same area to disconnect the locomotives before we continue our transit.
So the Pacific side is higher than the Atlantic side, or the way around?
They're even.
They're even. They're even. Okay.
Yep.
Amazing.
Yep, so the 3 locks that get you in will lower us back down the same amount that these 3 locks have raised us up.
Thank you for not my understanding.
Do we have the right of way, which is why the container ship is?
I don't know why it is there. I mean, it is anchored there and moored there, so I don't think it's waiting.
It was following us along for a while.
This particular one?
Yeah, pretty sure it was.
I think I saw a couple MFC ones. I didn't see the Evergreen.
There are a lot of them.
Because this one looks like it is moored to sit there for a while. It's got 4 lines out, front and back, and its anchors down. So
Oh, okay.
I think if it was just hanging out, I don't think they would. Yeah, I'm not sure what it's.
Now that is the new canal, right?
That's the new canal.
And,
Yep.
and the lock for that is, I guess, further back.
Yeah, even before the Miraflores locks. Yeah, the Coley locks.
Is that the bridge you were talking about?
It's not the newest bridge, it's the second newest bridge. We'll talk about it in just a couple minutes. When we get closer, it's the Centennial Bridge, built in 2003. At the Atlantic side is the newest bridge, just opened in 2019.
Is it about the same size or?
They're similar in size. I think the Atlantic Bridge is longer, but the clearance is about the same.
The locomotives are alongside, you can't see anything.
Good before, but I think not right now. No. But that's the track that they use, the lighter area. Yeah, as we were going into the locks, they were far enough ahead of us. We could see them at the
So what deck are they people standing on?
Deck 5, the bow.
So that is where.
Yep. As we leave the locks here at Pedro Miguel, you can see that this waterway is going to connect with the waterway that is on our port side and has been on our port side since before we entered the Miraflores locks. That waterway there on our port side, again, those are the new Panama Canal, the Expanded Canal, the Nieuw Panamax Canal, if you would like. So here those two waterways are going to connect because we use the same route through Culverts and through Between Lake. Again, it's only the locks that are missing. The original Panama Canal and the new expanded Panama Canal. So now that we are at 85 feet above sea level, we will connect with that waterway. They already went, any ships there already went through the Cocoli locks. So we'll sail through the rest of it together until they detour out into the Agua Clara locks on the Atlantic side of Between Lake, where we go into the Between locks. Like I said before, here we'll be disconnected from our mules, those electric locomotives, and sail into the cut. You can see a tugboat ahead of us, as I mentioned earlier. There are lots of tugboats working here in the canal, just there to make sure everything goes as planned. They can assist in case of emergency or a malfunction. Typically, they're just there as a safeguard. So let's talk about that bridge that you see ahead of us. You can see cars passing on the bridge. You see a small boat going under the bridge. Soon there will be a big boat going under that bridge. It is the Centennial Bridge. This bridge was officially dedicated on August 15, 2004, exactly 90 years from the opening of the Panama Canal. Shortly after that, it was open to traffic. Now, why was it open 90 years after the Panama Canal? It's called the Centennial Bridge. Well, because it was named for Panama's centennial, which occurred on November 3rd, 10 years before that. This bridge was built to relieve congestion on the Bridge of Americas. That was the bridge back at the entrance to the canal that we sailed under early this morning, before 6 a.m. And it's believed to have reduced the traffic on the Bridge of Americas by 50%. It's doing its job well. This bridge was funded by the Republic of Panama with funds from their general treasury and not from canal toll funds. It's not really part of the canal process, so the canal didn't pay for it. It's just part of the infrastructure of Panama. But speaking of those tolls, it is not free to use the Panama Canal. Ships are charged a toll based on their weight. The average toll for a ship to travel the canal is $150,000, but it can get much more expensive for the largest ships and additional surcharges. A passenger ship like ours will make a reservation so that they can guarantee a daytime transit on the day that they need it. That reservation fee alone is $35,000. Today, New Amsterdam is paying $450,000 to transit the canal, or nearly $300 per passenger. The cheapest toll ever paid to travel the canal was 36 cents. It was paid in 1928 by Richard Halliburton, who swam the length of the Panama Canal, all 50 miles. Now today you have a chance to go swimming in the Panama Canal. We won't make you swim 50 miles, but you can stop by the Seaview Pool at 2 o'clock this afternoon for our event, Swim Across the Panama Canal. Sign-ups begin at 1:45, and each participant will get a souvenir certificate to take home with them.
That's it.
And we get together.
Just look around and you see the border.
Where did you say to sign up for the Panama swim?
1:45 at Seaview Pool to deck 9 now.
Can you sign up earlier, or you have to sign up at 1:45?
Sign up at 1:45 and then it starts at 2.
Okay.
Sure. Lido Pool to deck 9. Yep.
Not even on that, huh? Good hat.
That's awesome.
I had a little drone I sent out there.
I guess there's a webcam.
Their webcam.
There's a webcam out there somewhere.
Somewhere there's a webcam. No, I just looked it up. Google Panama Canal webcam. Just Google Panama Canal webcam. And then it'll be the first log, the second log, and the third log. I'm doing something now. I'll get them all
See, I could photo. No. Yeah. Should be like this. See, should be.
Sounds like it.
Well, I've got one. I don't think you're supposed to. I don't think you're supposed to fly a drone. There's a lot of no drones.
No, because they have the selfie, they have failed. I wish you were here. Oh, maybe when I saw this was way maybe I.
Yeah, they look perfectly.
Oh, is it that way? Truly always like this.
Cloud and
Huh?
I'll send you a link.
Oh, always like this, the photo? Yeah. No, I sent the beginning as well.
downloading him and sending you a link to it.
That way your email doesn't blow up.
It's alright. Blow
Blow up mine too.
Yeah, no, well, we don't want that.
On this Wi-Fi here, yeah.
Someone knows your link. Let's go.
I just saw that. Or maybe already, maybe understand why when I go down there, oh, long
I was just trying to look that up and I actually could not find it.
What about that one that Mary?
Yeah, same. I couldn't find how high New Amsterdam is.
Oh, yeah.
Which is the part.
Oh, no, can I buy one? No, only for
But I know the big container ships fit under it, so we're not really an issue. They've now been built high enough to like the Evergreen that we just passed. They sail right under it, which are way bigger than the mega ships also fit through it. So your big ships from Norwegian, they will sail right under. They're way larger than everything.
Somebody said you have to go under low tide at low tide. That other one back there.
This ship wouldn't have to. Maybe some of the mega ships would have to, but this ship wouldn't have to, and then in here you definitely don't have to.
Oh no, they're I don't know.
But this ship is quite small compared to a lot of ships.
Right, but I took it to mean that he was talking about this.
They're big five.
I didn't think so.
No.
That's what I had to ask. That's somebody's authority.
Yeah, I was hoping to find that exact answer. I was just looking for it 2 minutes ago, but unfortunately I can't find it.
Yeah. When we were on Norwegian a few years ago, they charged, you only got like 200 minutes of internet. Like, it was ridiculous. In another couple of years, like very soon, there'll be these lower satellites, Elon Musk is putting out there. And it's going to be crazy good internet connection. And then 5G is coming out very fast. On the horizon is good technology.
Oh my goodness. 0, 0, not
Because usually down those spots,
yeah, it's kind of pen's not working. Yeah, you know, I always get anxious. I send the picture and they always say, you know how to do what I know how to do, and that's. Yeah, I'm gonna get it to you.
I was going to upload 3 pictures, but that's just taking ridiculous.
Oh, that one you showed me was very.
That's the one that I'll upload.
I have your address. That was 1800. Yeah. That's the gets it going.
So they march like 1,000 people across that bridge at a time on their way to America. I'll bet you they put them on the bus rather than block the bridge.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to get a picture. So I was thinking, oh, not that. I know, I was waiting for
Did you have your Panama roll?
I did. I had 2 Panama rolls here.
Me too.
They were delicious.
Yes.
So they didn't put a local guide on?
They did not. Actually, just let us know yesterday morning.
She's trying to look for the crocodile on the shore. But that's where you're going to see it, is along the shore.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah, this one is
There's the ditch.
I think we're outside.
Whole entire way, or do they?
We stay outside all the time till we go. And then lunchtime.
We have a couple on board. They visit each other throughout the day.
And then when they wait and then take another ship.
I don't know if they take another one back or if they transfer. I usually do partial transit. All the pilots, all the staff, physicians, and they drive over. I don't know if we'll necessarily sail back. Sure it was. Sure it was.
All theirs.
Crocodile.
Jeffrey?
So far, yeah, not so much sunshine today.
Well, it's only 10 o'clock.
Very murky. Things you don't want to take, do you? Is it too murky?
Should be a safe hole. Turn the middle part. The middle part. 158%.
Very good.
I want to see the lid easy to wash.
So you make the hole bigger. So you can close it so it doesn't spill and then open.
What is the depth of the cut? The depth of the cut. Great question. I don't actually know. What? Not know. All knowing. We take
She said we take 26 feet.
Valerie?
Second. Everything. Average depth of 120. What it tells me. Wow. What it tells me. Yeah.
Now, is this Gold Hill or is that somewhere else?
I believe that this is Gold Hill. That's why I was trying to wait till we got around the bend to see if there was another one that looked more like it.
Yeah,
One
it looked like the one in your photo yesterday.
yeah, one is Gold Hill and one is... I was reading it. Contact. Gold Hill and contact. Well, I will go
Well, they've chopped it like twice. They cut it down. It used to be taller. They keep reducing the size.
Yes, I know, that's why I'm looking at it.
We have now entered a Gaillard Cut, also called a Culebra Cut. This is nearly a 9-mile stretch where the canal cuts through the Continental Divide right where the ship is right now. We've got Gold Hill off on our starboard side, Contractors Hill on our port side. That is where the Continental Divide crosses the canal. It's where the deepest excavation was made. The top of Gold Hill was originally 539 feet above sea level. The top is twice been cut off to reduce the possibility of the hillside sliding down into the canal. The enormous job of cutting back the face of Gold Hill was accomplished as part of the canal widening project in 2001. As you can see there on our starboard side, it has a stair-step face of the hill done to reduce the possibility of landslides. You'll also notice some gray rectangular shapes on the face of the cut slope. Those are concrete blocks. They've been cast into the hill's face and anchored by steel rods. Another measure taken to reduce the possibility of slope failure. Gold Hill was given that name when the French effort for building the canal was underway, the first attempt at building a canal. The promoters of their project had started a rumor that this hill contained enough gold to fund the whole project. Of course, that made investors excited to jump on board, but it was just a rumor. No gold was ever found on Gold Hill. Now, the labor cut here, the narrowest part, is a nearly 9-mile stretch. It's about 8 3/4 miles through this area. And the mountains had to be lowered about 250 feet to create this continuous waterway at 85 feet above sea level. Most of the excavation in this area had to be blasted with dynamite before it could be cut out. 61 million pounds of dynamite were used in constructing the Panama Canal. At least half of all of the workers that were involved in building the canal were involved with the drilling and the blasting operations. You'll notice the white panels on both sides of the ship as we sail through this area of the cut. They are navigational aids to the ship's pilots. These panels are placed one behind the other. If the panels are in line, the pilot knows that they are on course. There's actually 2 separate sets of panels. The ones with the black crosses are used to be used when the ship is in the center of the canal. That's for one-way traffic like now. The ones with only a vertical stripe are to be used when the ship is off-center to allow for 2-way traffic. when smaller vessels are passing through here. Like I said earlier, generally, the canal is for only one-way traffic. The cut is for only one-way traffic. That's why both ends of the canal are used for inbound traffic in the morning. Right now, the cut is only one way. All of the ships are sailing towards the Atlantic side. And then this afternoon, after the last ship gets through, this section will be one way the other way as all of the ships sail out to the Pacific side.
Now that makes